Welcome back to the analyst desk. We get a little look inside right there at some of the inner workings of a very high-level team. Of course, they're not on yet, though. They're going to be on later on the Academy stream. We've already had one match conclude so far today. It was, of course, Cincinnati Fear picking up that massive 2-0 win over Jake's Kittens as we take a holistic look maybe at our matchups from today. And I specifically said only one is concluded because Taco Gaming has taken a game from 100 Thieves Next. RMC, I mean, it was not maybe what I was expecting. I don't know about you.
Oh, sorry. It looks like I was had some mic issues there. I hope I'm back on. But yeah, I think 100 Thieves Knicks, they've had some weaknesses here and there. They haven't been quite as dominant as they were in spring, but they've still been winning. So we'll have to see, whether Taco can pull off the same sort of play that Fear just pulled off with Jake's Kittens.
Yeah, and of course, they're not out yet. It's only 1-1, which just means that we get even more amazing League of Legends over on the Academy stream. So be sure to check out that Game 3 if you want some good stuff. But over here, before we kind of get into the matchup that we have coming up next, we've just got a few more teams to place on our graphic. We've already placed 4 of the teams for our movie genres. That leaves 4 genres remaining. And of course, coming up, we've got the AOE Civil War, Area of Effect Esports, and Area of Effect Ginger Turmeric. Trance, we've got Action, Classic, Buddy Cop, and Mystery. Where are we putting the AOE boys?
AOE, I'm putting them for Action. Action
Okay.
for sure.
Keep going.
So sorry. Winnie, Action. Okay.
Yep. No, that's fair. That's that would have been my pick too. I think AOE. I think Action. They are probably one of the most aggressive teams, and because of that, Zamudo's and Winnie's KDA have been suffering a little bit because they are dying almost as much as they're killing people.
Yeah, more than fair. I mean, you know how I told you guys I was holding my Action pick for later? AOE is the team that I had in mind for that Action movie. And it's specifically because, Trance, you said it, Winnie, this man loves to fight, and he makes his laners fight with him, for better or for worse. So I think we're all in agreement here. Area of Effect, they are our Action movie. You are sure to get a bloody film whenever they're on the screen. But AOE Ginger Turmeric, a little bit different. We've got 3 genres remaining. RMC, I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to go to you first. What are we feeling with this one?
Definitely mystery, because I have no clue what AGT are doing at any given point in time. So they are a mystery to me.
Trance?
I'm gonna have to contest that. It's a little buddy cop for me.
Okay.
Ooh. A little
buddy.
deep learning and Duolicina buddy cop maybe? Or
Yes, sir. That's the
boy.
one.
This is leaving me playing tiebreaker again. I agree with you guys on both of these. I was kind of hoping you guys would both agree on one so I wouldn't have to pick, because I see the deep learning Duolicina buddy cop film, but also they are a bit of an enigma, I think, in terms of their play style. But oh boy. Hang on. I gotta look at so we've also got Evil Geniuses Prodigies, and we have Team Pending to put down. Okay, based on that, I'm going to put AGT as a mystery. I think they fit it better than the other 2, and I agree with you, RMC. I don't really know what to expect from this team. They are always an exciting one to watch. But either way, getting into this match now, we've got the Action movie, we've got the mystery movie. Trance, what should we be expecting from these teams? We sort of dove into a little bit, but maybe some Winnie shenanigans? I don't know.
I definitely want to be watching that jungle matchup between Keel and Winnie. I think out of all the lanes and the roles that are going to be fighting against each other, that's definitely where I'd be putting my money on which team takes the W today.
Yeah. Yep. Fair enough. More than fair. I mean, AOE, they're definitely a team that likes to put so many resources towards the superstar jungler. He's been to Academy. He has played extremely well in Amateur since coming back. And we've seen AOE time and time again. It feels like they get strong solo laners to support Winston. That's been the story this year. And RMC, maybe we can draw a little bit of a magnifying glass on those strong solo laners. You mentioned how their KDAs might suffer a little bit because of the way that they play, but that's not to say, I would presume, that they're weak.
No, not at all. And it's kind of funny because AOE as a team actually have the lowest KD ratio of all the top 8 teams at 0.82. So they actually die a little bit more than they do get kills. But yet they keep on winning, and they're considered, a favorite. I mean, we saw the caster predictions a little bit earlier, right? And it's overwhelmingly AOE favored. And it's because of the macro, the strategic way they play it. They apply a ton of pressure, and they make their deaths count. When Winnie dies, he usually has caused enough chaos that the team can wrap everything up after that. Likewise for Zamudo. Zamudo, that new top laner previously from third party here, who has come in for AOE, picked up the mantle of Soul, who has gone over to TSM Academy here, applies a ton of pressure. And even though he's new, his laning has been incredible here, constantly up CS on his lane opponents. And specifically against AGT, the top lane is going to be interesting to me because he's running up now against Existence, who's an incredibly experienced top laner of his own. Another top laner who can carry games for his team here. And I don't know if Zamudo will be able to find the sort of leads that maybe AOE are used to seeing from that top side.
Yeah, definitely will be a point of contention. I feel like, to your point about Winnie dying a lot, it's like he'll die, but he'll take like 4 people with him, so it's totally worth it,
He'll take your entire jungle.
He'll swallow your whole jungle, and it's all of a sudden you can't play the game. But that top lane definitely will be impactful. But that's not the only point of pressure that AGT has, because of course, when we're talking about this team, they're a bit of a mystery, as we said. But the reason why that they are this mysterious film, the reason why we don't know what to expect for them, is all their players are just really good. Deep Learning and Duo Selena on the bottom side, they've been a bot lane for forever. They know how to play together. Existence, like you said, they've just got so much. So Trance, maybe you can go into a little bit about, maybe we can do our best to predict what AGT is going to try to do this game.
So for AGT, they're pretty well known for their pushing bot lane. You love to see that. Caitlyn Karma, they're very experienced at playing those Caitlyn lanes. So if there was any, for those, I'd definitely be watching that bot lane, looking to take leads off that.
All right. Well, and probably the Senna too. Definitely one that you got to watch out for with Duo Selena. But either way, it's time for our predictions. Trance, you already laid it out for us. You taking AOE in this one?
I'm taking AGT 2-1.
Oh, AGT, there you go. Okay, all right. You want to give us just a little bit of insight on that one?
I'm definitely calling them to be a bit of a wild card between the two of them, but I'm definitely putting my money on them because of that wild card kind of thing. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, okay. I like it. Sometimes the best strategy is just chaos. RMC, what about you?
Chance, I see that you're a betting man. But on this one here, to be honest, I really don't have a good read on the teams. I went AOE 2-1, but I'm going to be honest here, I could see it going either way, and I'm not standing that strongly behind my prediction.
Fair enough. I'm going to go even more polarized. I'm going to take AOE 2-0. Of course, I feel like by just saying I'm going to take AOE, I could claim I'm taking both teams, but the main AOE roster 2-0, but I think it's gonna be a close 2-0. I say 2-0 because I think in my mind I feel like AOE's unrelenting pressure, particularly through the jungle, will give them a bit of an edge. However, AGT, they're gonna fight back and they're not gonna make it easy, but at the end I think AOE, they're gonna be able to take it in 2 straight games. But it is time to get underway with this second series here on the path to LCS. Pyra and Rebel, take it away.
Thank you very much, Hawk, RMC, and Trance. I am so ready to get into this next one. It was a very fast first series. I have a feeling this one could go the distance, Rebel. We are still hanging out, kicking back, relaxing, but I think these two teams are certainly gearing up to play. As it was mentioned, it is an AOE Civil War, but Ginger Turmeric, they have existed far before the AOE label was applied, and I think this is a squad that, while hard to predict, could certainly give a lot of trouble to the main AOE roster.
Yeah, as of last split, I mean, they very nearly made it in on one qualifier to Proving Grounds just of their own volition through just one tournament. They lost to the eventual champions of the entire tournament as well in the first round of the quarterfinals. And, next split, even through some roster changes, they're able to make it back in pretty convincing fashion. And there's a good reason why I think it's hard to get a beat on both these teams. We know they're incredibly talented. AOE Ginger Turmeric is whew, like this team's got a lot of potential upside and a lot of potential volatility to it because of the players, because of what they've shown us all splits. But that's what makes them so dangerous, I think, as a team.
I agree, and I think as far as the main AOE roster is concerned, I mean, it is going to be one that I think they mentioned on the desk is a little bit more focused towards trying to get something for their aggressive moves, and how often and how successfully they often play through Winnie as well. So this is a squad that, you know kind of what the general strategy is going to be. It's a matter of like, how well can you stop that incredibly like fast and powerful boulder rolling down the hill at you, and I think that's going to be AOE GT's challenge for this series, and what they can really do against Winnie, because while he is an incredible player, the rest of the squad certainly no slouches either. But as you mentioned, AOE GT, they've got carries in just about every role too. And we saw last time around what Cincinnati Fear could do when they kept their opponents on the back foot, kept them guessing. I think that is going to be critical. I'd love to see a draft that just does not give anything away here in this game one. And I believe we are about to get that one up. So let's see how it all shakes out for our teams.
Grand scheme of things, both these teams are incredibly exciting to watch, and specifically I'm keeping an eye on what do our lane states look like, because I feel like the distinction and the combativeness of Winnie towards Keel is something we're really paying attention to in a game like this, right? We know Winnie is somebody who likes to make aggressive plays, likes to be able to kind of control the pacing of the map in general. That's how he's played when he's been on previous teams, how he played when he was in Academy, how he played when he's also in Xelo, and it doesn't change really right now, especially because he's connected with people that have allowed him to do so, like Skytech. And so having dominant lanes, having easier access to being able to deny those paths of entry from Winnie is something that I'm looking at for Ginger Turmeric. The ability to shut out any support that he would have, so they can prevent this snowball, prevent this player from controlling things the way that they want to.
Do you think that I'm hearing we're going to have a little bit of a delay in getting ourselves into the pick ban, but in terms of what Ginger Turmeric should look to do to try and stop it, do you think they ought to opt for like maybe a bit more of a defensive setup play in for the late game? I know this is a team that has a lot of like really interesting picks, the types of champions they choose to play. I know a lot of people really talk about Captain Shrimps in particular, and we did get to see, I believe, I think it was actually, I think both these mid laners played Karma last week, didn't they?
They did.
So
yes.
we've got a lot of like interesting parallels. So I'm really curious to see where it goes, because I really want to get into like, oh yeah, let's analyze it, but we don't know. We're into picks and bans though. AOE on the blue side for game number 1, and a Tall Glass GT over there on the red side. Zoe and the Fiora band away on red. Blue side we see the Rubble taken off, as well as the Soraka. And no, those are not glitches. Those are just some very specific bans.
They're targeted to the other side, but the one thing that's breaking me right now is that Senna is not taken off the board, which to me it indicates that Lynx has to take that basically first overall. If they don't take it first overall, you are handing that to Duo Selena, who is they play it all the time. Usually it's considered
double marksman too.
Double marksman. You run that. You run it with a mage. You run it with a support. You run it with anything right now. But the thing is, Duo Selena will play it anytime, any place, and Deep Learn is somebody that's played with Duo Selena for a good enough time. We know they like to play high econ for the Senna as much as possible in the bottom side of the map, which indicates to me, again, if AOE intends to take it, they have to take it right now, because I assure you that they will not let it through if they wanted Ginger Turmeric to not have it in their pocket, and that's exactly what happens here.
Yeah, so the lock-in for Senna here, we could see the more conventional style that we saw a little bit earlier on with the Senna Kench combo. Obviously, Lynx and Skytech comboing up for that one. On the AGT side, we are going to see that blind Wukong locked in for Keel, and maybe here's the switch up. Lucian Nami is still available. It wasn't last series because of the target bans on that one. We could very well see that being the combo for a bit of lane dominance, but no time to really unpack it here, Rebel, because already a pretty quick hover here for Young on the Syndra.
And I'm curious if they go to the Tahm Kench as fast as possible. I don't think it's a bad lane by any standard. If you go for Lucian Nami, you still have the ability to try to sandbag that lane and just scale up, use your range and your sustain to not fall victim to it. And the Lucian pick is also something that's been like permabanned basically as many places as is humanly possible. In pretty much every single region, anytime we've seen it on the patch, it is gone as quick as it comes. And so it's interesting because, yeah, the trade-off was you get Senna, right? And then you go for Syndra, you get Tahm Kench, you know the bottom lane that's coming. You've given away Lucian Nami and Wukong, which is an incredible amount of draft capital to Ginger Turmeric just to make sure that this pick goes into your hands. So AOE, they do understand their opponents, I think, quite well, but seriously seriously giving over a lot of power to their opposition.
Absolutely, and I think while AOE are focusing on trying to ban out some of the more frustrating and pokey picks of Captain Shrimps, you see that Xerath off the board. I mean, there's still going to be options available. The Corki, and it's safe enough to do, as well as adding a little extra damage. It starts to get into a beastly team fight, especially in the mid game there for GT. So, what can AOE do to try and disrupt this? Maybe the Nocturne is the choice. Try to dive in, get the plays, a good combination with the Syndra as well, and Winnie will get that lock in.
And it's been the response to a lot of fighter junglers. It was the response to a lot of fighters in general when it was in the lane. If you remember last season when it was in top all the time, mid all the time.
Oh, yeah.
When you're playing Lee Sin in the mid lane, when they're playing all these other fighters. This was the response because it's good into that, and it's not different into the Wukong either because it's, again, good into some of the fighter picks as well as having the impactful ultimate, being able to shut things out. And with the number of champions, I mean, you think Corki, you've got Lucian, you've got Nami, you've got a lot of people who can get one shot by Nocturne in the right circumstance. And you can challenge from very far away now also with the Ornn being thrown into everything, as Existence goes for the Mordekaiser attempted counter. I like it because you pull him out of his Ornn ultimate, you make sure that he is in the death realm, he can't really do anything. There's a lot of really good reasons why the Mordekaiser has good targets for the ultimate in this game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I think Existence is going to really be trying to take it to Samuto, and that was one of those players that we really highlighted as, you know, one of the newcomers coming in to join this like core roster that AOE had and has really stepped up, specifically in the laning phase, is going to have to play it on the weak side comparatively now and see what they can do. I do like what AOE are bringing to the team fights, right? You do have a decent bit of burst that you can target out between the Nocturne and the Syndra, and you can literally keep the opposite team in the dark. The question is, how well can they stand up against the onslaught of what is very likely going to be two losing lanes, and honestly a third that's kind of hard to break?
On one hand, I do like AOE has set themselves up for success. I think they have a well-rounded composition, but without early gold advantage for either Syndra or Senna, I feel like the damage is a little lacking from them in the grand scheme of things. Like, you will eventually fall. Like, Senna does scale up really well, so does Syndra in all things. But like, just those two primary damage dealers do give me a little bit worry for the hyper late game if we were to arrive at that location, because you've got damage in spades with the Corki, the Lucian's able to do it, Wukong even gets some pretty solid damage, you get buffing from the Nami, all these extra things. And like you had said, I feel as though, you know, Ginger Turmeric, I kind of understand that, and they say, okay, we'll pick for lane a little bit more, right? The Corki's wave clear is good enough to be able to compete with Syndra, has enough poke as well, as long as you've got your W, you're not really under a ton of kill threats. The Lucian Nami is supposed to be a powerful side bot lane that's difficult, I think, to really punish with the Senna Tom catch on its own. And Keel has a champion that can be influential in team fights and in ganking from just level 6 to set his team off onto a good point.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very rough ride, I think, for AOE in the early game. But I do like what they bring in terms of like not just like a target assassination, but like just a CC chain. I mean, this is a great front to back when you consider that everybody on the squad has the ability to lock somebody up. So I feel like if you're deep learning, like you're maybe packing a cleanse at the very least. And for Captain Shrimps, I mean, yeah, like the Corki has a good amount of self peel. Obviously, you have the Nami, you have the Wukong that can, like, you can use your own CC as a bit of like a counter engage, or rather a disengage, but it's not always optimal. Like, I mean, that's kind of the situation where you'd want like maybe a Renata in the bot instead, but obviously Lucian Nami is just such an incredibly potent lane. It does feel like AGT are putting a lot on themselves to make that success very, very heartfelt in the early game, but they have the tools to do it. And again, when you're winning 2 out of 3 lanes, that's really honestly all you need if you can win them hard enough. The question is, where do they go into that mid game? What do they actually focus on? And if they don't like get like a single player just fed out of control, it's not going to be like that Darius game we saw earlier with Dragoon. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, you really should. Lots of dunking going on. But yeah, I like what both these teams have brought. They very clearly have a win condition for themselves, but there's also a very clear dip and weak point, and I think it kind of becomes a bit of a chess match from there, Rebel.
To me, actually, while you do have scaling of Senna on your side, and you have Ornn ultimate and like Ornn items as well to rely on in the later stages for AoE, I don't think Ginger Turmeric really have to press the gas all that much, which is weird because they seem like a team that is always willing to try to press the gas, willing to like make individual plays happen. But I feel as they don't need to. If they play exclusively to what their composition does well to start with, Lucian Nami should have a good start to the laning phase. Their mid lane should be able to keep up with wave clear. They can go for dragon stacking. They can go for some of the early stuff to give them a bit more ability instead of, you know, trying to force fights. actually drawing AOE Esports into situations where they have to fight, Ginger Turmeric on their own terms. And if they have that, again, there's a lot of creativity that can be used in trying to get fights that are going to be a lot easier for you, especially the use of existence. Pulling somebody out of a fight will be big. I talked about damage. If you lose Syndra to the Death Realm, if you lose Lynx to the Death Realm, you lose a significant portion of your damage in a game like this from AOE Esports. So having them fight on your terms as Ginger Turmeric, I think is really, really good. So to me, I kind of want to see them play a little bit of a slower game. Don't take it to 40 minutes, right? You don't want Senna on like infinite stacked souls or something like that. But I am okay with them going for like 2 dragons, not really making the biggest of plays, instead just farming up, making sure they're on even footing as AOE, because I think they've got the individual ability to take fights in the late game, even with no real gold advantage.
You're right, and kicking things off here, we do see, as we'll have to keep our eyes on this bottom lane, it's definitely a matchup that I think we want to focus on, given how well-known Deep Learning and Duoselina are for this like pushing style, this aggressive style. We've already seen a Senna Kench bottom side today just completely stuff aggression, but a little bit of a different style, much more for the fight, much more for the kill. This is a lane that can push, so I definitely want to keep an eye down here, see what happens. Also, once Keel gets ready to start ganking, I think we could start seeing a lot of attention focused down here from the Wukong.
I agree. Breaking this Lucian Nami out would give so much additional mid-game power to this team, right? The Corki getting onto like 2-3 items is when the spike starts to come through. The Mordekaiser is always going to be in melee, will have damage to do some pretty significant things. But setting up your bot lane is how you would really start to take over in like the second Rift Herald fight area, the third, fourth, fifth dragon area of the game, where the items aren't quite there to really fully take over a fight unless you're hitting directly onto Deep Learn here from AOE Esports. So I'm excited to see again what Ginger Turmeric's plan is, because I feel like they have a couple of avenues to take a game like this, and they're a team that, while we talk about them being a little bit of a wild card, a little bit off kilter on occasion, they have experience in spades on this team to work with.
Oh, you're absolutely right. So far, pretty even across the board. However, Existence is getting bullied pretty hard by Zamudo. I mean, this Mordekaiser, I mean, it's early levels, but he does have the level advantage at the moment, and actually just going to charge the wave in. Winnie now moving on into the jungle and going to try to force him off his own Gromp. Does not have red buff, by the way, but I don't think he needs it, because he might just get it out anyways. The smite down for the health. So while Keel gets a little shoved out, Winnie does not get a kill for his trouble.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, there's not even a summoner spell. So I'm going to give props to Keel really heavily right there. Like, you are under legitimate threat of Nocturne just running through you. You are terrified by the thing coming through.
Oh no, the auto didn't do enough, and Young burnt the flash for nothing. I mean, that's a feels bad, man, but I think they can try and get something back.
Yeah.
Look at where Winnie is right now. Captain Shrimps
no.
definitely should have left a lot sooner. That's the Valk, and he's out. I do not believe it. Now Keel comes in. Oh, really pushing your luck there on that Corki, though.
He's still here, too. He doesn't want to sack anything, doesn't want to burn the TP this early in the game. Still has the flash advantage as well. So if just the W from Corki wasn't enough to keep you safe enough against the Syndra at the beginning of the game, this will certainly keep you safe enough, because now you have the additional flash, so it's even harder to try to set up a gank or something along those lines. Young Mid has had great performances on Syndra. If that's a solo kill, the arrow my apologies, was almost enough to bring down Captain Shrimps. And I'm not sure if he saved a pot, because I know he had one in there, but some amount of healing was just barely able to keep him upright after the flash came in from Young to try to get that punish into the mid lane tower. But it doesn't end up turning out. And again, that's so much of the early game pressure that you can have onto this Corki. It's so much breathing room that's now been gained by Captain Shrimp just off the back of aggression that doesn't quite yield what you want it to.
Yeah, it's just a matter of inches, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the health was in the single digits at that point. And it's just a feels bad, man, when you make that very small miscalculation and end up putting yourself behind on the summoner spell. So now back with that teleport burn, Captain Shrimps can feel a lot more confident, as you said, moving forward. And, no stacks on that Dark Seal, nothing given over to the Syndra. Here as AOE GT on the top side, too, you can see Existence, now that he's been able to equalize in the level department, is right back on pushing up against Zamudo, and I think you're feeling a little better about this as Lynx comes up on a roam. They're going to try to set something up for a play, it looks like, but it's a slow start, and Captain Shrimps is playing pretty safe.
Is really easy positioning in the top corner of this lane. You can see there's a ward in mid and a ward in that other brush. and it means that it's so difficult to gank him from that start. He can stand so far away from Lynx or anybody else that would be coming into the lane. This is a big
Heal's
crash
coming
actually coming in as well.
Okay, already Valk's away. Lynx has moved into position. Heal is also there to answer, but it's just going to be a ward clear, so...
Oh.
Yeah. So far, so good. Not too much trouble.
Huh? Zamudo just threw an Ornn ultimate against a full health existence, maybe thinking the level 5 advantage was going to be enough.
Wow. That's 2 tower shots taken
ulted.
here, and oh no! Into the Death Realm you go. And he's just going to try to smash him down to 0. I think this should be the kill here for existence. First blood taken, and that might be an omen.
That had to just be a massive brain fart situation from Zamudo. Like, everything about that whole circumstance felt like completely out of character for him. Popping the ultimate early, you can see the bottom lane now, a point of contention for both these teams.
Oh, whoa! Hold on a second. AOE GT realizing they have the opener right now. There is no Cyclone available for Keel just yet, but they still are on the chase, looking for Winston. Flashes away. It looks like it was all a bait, and now Duo Selena will fall to the unleashed power of Young Mid. Root on Deep Learn does manage to get out of that using both summoner spells, and it's a close call for a 1 kill.
It is. Keel's still poking around the area at least a little bit, but yeah, I think he's just going to get pushed off. I don't know that the health bar is actually there from AOE to be able to full take the dragon either, so it does just end up being the 1 kill going over to the side of AOE Esports here on the bottom side, thankfully getting something for their endeavor, because it seemed like the setup, the Dragon Steel was coming through from the side of Ginger Turmeric pretty easily, but Young Mid able to walk out with a kill with that elimination, making sure not to fall victim. Burnt all of the summoner spells on Deep Learn and Duo Selena before a gank could come through from Keel as well, which gives, again, more breathing room over to Lynx and Skytech, who both held their flashes through that situation. So the ramifications, again, it feels like both teams are throwing like these soft punches, aren't quite landing as hard as that they would want them to, because they don't want to overstep their bounds and really drive an advantage into the opposition.
Right, so yeah, both teams really just kind of given a little bit more respect on that regard, but AOE are the ones that do have the slim gold advantage, all said and done. I think Young Mid has been very hungry for the kill, does manage to at least secure that onto Duo Selena, so that's critical. I mean, obviously a couple of stacks on the Darksteel is nice to have as well, but getting that gold in the pocket is good. So far, though, incredibly even game. Gold just about equalizes anyways. And as you mentioned, neither team gets the dragon. So it is very back and forth. Just a game of inches.
It is. We're seeing total gold right now. I'm also waiting for that level 6 mark from both Keel and also from Witty, because that's the point where like the Cyclone starts to get you into team fighting situation. Multi-target is going to be beautiful. And that mid lane experience, just enough to take Winnie over to get that ultimate to start to potentially make an effect anywhere on the map. This is where the Nocturne starts to get terrifying, and maybe where they can start to push an advantage somewhere on the map. We got to see now where Winnie wants to pull that trigger to make sure that his team is set up for success, start picking away at some of these Turmeric members.
Yeah, also able to solo onto the Rift Herald as well, so after that you have to think that this is going to be a play down a lane, looking for the pick-off and then into the Herald drop. So keep your eyes on Winnie as per usual when watching AOE Esports.
Has a lot of camps on his top side, will path the bottom side. It's a question of Turmeric's ability to do like plenty of things here, because Dragon is up, they know that there's a ward on it, they have that, they've got bot push right now. If they go for a pure Dragon take, it feels like they're seeding push a bottom lane, which could yield a pretty bad result if Winnie were to just beeline it right down here and then press that as soon as Keel leaves. They're going to take it with that push, like I had said. I feel like Keel almost has to stick around a little longer than to make sure that the wave's going to be in a fine position, or maybe they just back completely, which would open up potentially Winnie to again catch them right as they're coming back to lane if he wants to set something like that up. So I'm watching to see what their intention is right now. Actually, Winnie is turned right back to top side. I was anticipating maybe a continued clear down towards the bottom side, trying to catch out the Lucian and the Nami as Keel were to path back up after taking the dragon, but maybe he just wants to punish existence. Maybe he needs a minute to try to figure out where he wants to go with it right now, because it doesn't look like there's an aggressive move for Winnie at the moment.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of ideas about what direction to go, but Winnie ended up not settling on either one of them just yet. Now starts to head back down towards the bottom side. As you predicted, Rebel, look to try and catch this on the return. Keel is here, so this would be a 3v3. Here comes the Paranoia, immediately targeting on to Deep Learning, onto Duo Selena, but the knockup from the Cyclone on the back half and a teleport coming through means things have gone very very wrong here as the double kill comes through for the AOE GT jungler. It's a 2-for-1 trade, support for support and jungle.
And I was very clear about this when I was talking about their setup for a play like this, which is that I feel like they needed to wait longer for Keel to be elsewhere on the map before actually committing to it. Because as soon as they beelined through mid lane, they gave up that information, and Keel was able to wrap back down and be there for the fight. If they had been there and the Wukong had been elsewhere, if they had waited maybe another 30 seconds, Keel almost certainly would have taken it back. He would have been elsewhere, and the wave would have been in a position where they still could have attacked it with a Nocturne ultimate. Instead, he just runs right through mid lane. They actually had a ward there, so they were able to catch him out, so props to whoever it was. It was probably Shrimps that put that ward down, that caught their movement through mid lane, and it let them know that Young and Winnie were on the way. They had to be ready and raring to go. The Nocturne ultimate obviously shut out the teleport for a little bit of time, but that bode time for Captain Shrimps to go back to base, grab up the package, and be able to make this massive counterpunch. So props to Ginger Turmeric, again, thinking through these options as well with the information presented to them, the way I had at least seconds ago, because again, if I'm able to read it, I'm certain these players are able to read it, and they did a great job of it.
Yeah, no, that was a really nice counterplay for sure. So Ginger Turmeric are the ones that are kind of taken away with it all. Now, I think maybe the one... I don't want to say it's a silver lining, because I honestly think if you're Keel, you're pretty happy with your early Divine Sunder about it. But
yeah.
I think Deep Learn would have liked to have a little bit more than just the assists on that. Either way, still looking pretty good for AOE GT. You can see the Area of Effect Esports squad trying to find an in, trying to find maybe a collapse somewhere, but they've left their bot lane completely undefended at this moment, while Skytech is on a roam. And Lynx hasn't gone in with the teleport coming back to mid from Young mid. This is just free plates.
Yeah, it's free plates, and it looks like it'll probably be 2 at the grand scheme of things, as the Senna just now returns and is able to do a lot more. Yeah, really well played right there. It's just a couple of plates. That neutralizes the Rift Herald, if the Rift Herald were just to go. And right now, at least as the waves are holding where they're at, for the side of Turmeric, it feels like the only thing you're getting is not a full tower off the Rift Herald and maybe a charge into the inner tower. You're going to get 2 plates. You're just going to match everything that they pulled on the bottom side of the map. So right now, not paying dividends. And that's if he finds a place to put it down right now. It looks like he's going to ult to top lane, potentially. Winnie will, as a play against Existence. The wave is now gone, though, so he turns right back to mid lane. He's just trying to find somewhere to put this, and he hits the
he had to
down to the mid lane, yeah.
I don't think we were expecting this one. Winnie just hasn't been able to find the openings. Now Captain Shrimp's going to try to defend the mid lane, but Keel is also here. Here's the wraparound from Winnie, and he does manage to reposition pretty well, even through the spell shield. The Shelly charge does go through, dodges the scout of the week, and Captain Shrimp's, man, somebody has put some fast shoes on that Corki he's riding.
Doing a great job so far. Again, after not falling to that mid lane gank in the early stage of the game, if it was his ward and his call out to make sure that they didn't fall behind on that bottom side gank, there's even more plays coming about as Keel gets into mid lane.
Yeah, Young Mid didn't expect that one. Out of the bush comes the Cyclone Chimp, and that is going to be the kill onto Young Mid. Winnie running for the hills. The blue ray does not connect, but Existence just doesn't seem to care. Tanking up through the line. You get some piercing darkness from downtown, but even in the paranoia, Keel sticks right on top of the ghost, and it's all GT.
But gotta give massive props, because again, most of the time, this team is kind of unhinged, is the best way I would call Ginger Turmeric. This game is so methodical from them. Keel is doing a miraculous job being where he needs to on the map, and I don't know if it's communication, I don't know if they're just like clearing up all this information ahead of time, but they are having a miraculous day in being able to do all this so incredibly well. I have to give incredible props. Again, this was also weird. Young just kind of dumped the ultimate, thinking, then also dumped the scout of the week, and did not hit Shrimps. There have been a couple of these instances for AoE. Again, Zamudo, that ult on the top side, that just kind of felt like it was burnt. This mid lane ultimate from Young Mid just to push back Captain Shrimps. They just feel like wasted tools that like are getting used for almost no reason. As right here, again, the continued dive ended up leading to Winnie's death. The ultimate coming through the Existence roam was massive, because he knows the Ornn can't really punish in terms of the turret plates, which were even gone at the time. So again, Turmeric just, they know everything. It feels like they're game planning to the max right now.
I think this has been a day so far on the Path to LCS stream for upended expectations here, Rebel Fox. The second match in a row where we've expected one thing from a squad, and they've come in completely swinging for the fences, and I mean, playing aggressive, but also studying it up. I mean, hey, it's important. So another dragon does get taken on the map, which means we will have an Infernal Rift coming up here. And man, Captain Shrimps is still able to hold on to this tower, just barely, by the way. But without any towers taken, it has been a lot of back and forth, but mostly in AoE GT's favor as far as those kills are concerned. Keel definitely being the one to dive into the backside. As we said, anyone on this team can be the carry. Well, Captain Shrimps able to scuttle out of the way. Lynx and Young should be able to finish off this tower in the mid, but Keel gonna make him pay for it. There we go, into the dash. Cyclone yet again. They turn for Young mid. Winnie throws down the Paranoia, turns onto Keel, who turns back onto him. That tower lasted so long. Oh, and he dodges out the rocket just barely. Meanwhile, up to the top side, Zamudo has been in this particular horror film before, and he knows he is going nowhere but the Death Realm. That I think is going to happen sooner rather than later. Just a few more hits is all it's going to take. There we go.
Burning some summoners right there or burning some spells right there was existence because he didn't even press the key into the absolute last possible moment. And it was astonishing because one auto attack was really different. Actually, Winnie's going to get hunted down.
Oh, pushing your luck on that one. I think Keel feels like he could take it away. Now Young is going to go ahead and grab the blue buff for himself. That's a Syndra thing, but it's going to be running all the way back to the pit because it does not like to be in lane.
Yeah, pretty nice. The full reset will get it back to full health. Maybe give time for something, but it feels like Keel could actually just snag it anyway and not worry about this all that much. And again, the push for the mid tower, had the auto attack, the last little bit of damage from Captain Trince come through and they had traded onto Winnie, I feel like that would have been a winning scenario, right? Like, they still would have been massively ahead. So, yes, they do get first tower. They lose members on a couple of different sides of the map. They actually give up a fair amount of pressure with Winnie staying on the map and now getting pushed out with all of their members here in the Rift Herald pit by so much. Ginger Turmeric, again, thinking through this game so well. I really appreciate the kind of process that they're going through to be able to set themselves up for such successes.
I agree. I mean, this is massive for them. I know a lot of us predicted AOE, but like, kind of like how RMC said on the desk, like it feels like it's hard to get a fix on this particular matchup because of how wild AOE GT can be. And maybe the wildest thing is that they're playing controlled and clean League of Legends.
Really are. They're playing methodical League of Legends. They're working on every single thing. It feels like they're communicating really well as well. Because again, there's been a couple of moments where plays could have arose, and they've talked through the possibilities of defense for these specific plays. Now, I will give it to AOE because they aren't just completely out of it yet. They're down only 1,000 gold. Young Mid has picked up a fair amount of the gold inside of the game like this.
The tower too.
Yeah, underneath the tower as Zamudo
okay.
probably goes down.
Yeah, Zamudo's going to be having a hard time here. I think he played a little aggressive as a weak side Ornn early in this game. However, Young Mid is going to try and get an answer back as Deep Learning is going down. Woo. Just the inch of that one, but look at all the teleports and the special delivery as Captain Shrimps looks to chase him down, but Young Mid going to be joined by the rest of his team. Skytech and Winnie on the roam here, and now it's a 3v3, but they're just going to look at each other. Well, maybe more than that, because Young Mid's taken very low. The bubble onto Skytech is too. Man, they're starting to punish here. That Corky is hitting hard.
Yeah, Captain Shrimps, I feel like all game on the Scorky has actually been doing more damage than I would anticipate him to be able to, but playing it out so well, hitting multiple targets with big rockets. And I want to point out one other thing, because right there, most people wouldn't step back into a play like that out of fear of anything else happening. But believe it or not, he had caught on to the fact that Young had been stuck on a minion. He had to change his pathing to get a little bit closer, and Captain Shrimps stepped up to focus that down. He hit a rocket, he hit an auto attack, and really forced Young Mid into a bad situation, which is why Skytech had to hang around for so long. We'll see if we get at the end of this play. This is just the dive on the Zamudo, and to be fair, Zamudo getting the knockout, being able to buy time for Young Mid to come back. I thought that Young Mid, this was just a miraculous being able to come in, and denying that entrance from the Wukong, I think, was also really cool as just the 1-for-1. But again, it feels like AOE getting a little bit on the back end of these plays, but Ginger Turmeric understanding what they need to do. That was the first time they got pulled across the map and didn't really get anything tangible for it.
I will say AOE have been focusing pretty heavily on being able to get towers using better trades because they had done a lot of damage early on, but not been able to collect that standing gold. Now they've got them all around the side, including that first brick they got in the mid. It was a little hard fought. It does feel like a number of these plays that like they are almost succeeding, but getting punished because they just can't get the kill on a final auto. However, here is the turn. Here is the punish. AOE GT with the Shelly, full charge in mid here, and they have everybody but Existence, who does have teleport now that he's backing. They're not going to push their luck, though. They're just going to settle for being able to grab that one mid turret because there is an Infernal Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, and they have the position advantage.
They do. And it'll set them up for what will eventually be Soul Point, because this almost certainly goes over to them. And the trade-off here is Tom Kench is getting some damage into the other side of the map, and maybe they'll try to fish to see if they can get Existence, but it feels like Existence is under absolutely no threat, unless, of course, you do have the Nocturne kind of hovering in the area if he decides to get a little bit cheesy. But it's not going to be the case. Okay. Yeah, grand scheme of things, like, the Dragon is going to be very helpful for Turmeric, because I feel like they're willing to fight at any point. They have got the composition that does a little bit better in the mid game. And again, Young Mid has damage, which is great. Like, Young Mid on the Syndra is doing fine, but it's a slow crawl here for Lynx, because he is the Senna, he's got the lethality, and he's not going to be pumping out the damage as much as, like, what a Corki at this point in the game, or even, like, Deep Learning is going to be able to at this point.
Yeah, and Existence has got to be feeling pretty good about his choices. Not only did they get that Mordekaiser pick, and it's just had like a solid lane that Zamudo has not been able to contest, but gets the early Rift Maker by, now onto the Demonic Embrace. I mean, you're already feeling pretty confident in your ability to just kind of like roll over your opposition. And I think they had a really good read on this draft, and that's one of the things that's allowing AOE GT to do what they're doing.
It really did. I can appreciate also that, like, they didn't smash bottom lane super hard, but they are using the Lucian and the Nami now as almost a deterrent for certain plays to make sure that they have control in the mid lane. They're using it in circumstances, I think, to leverage more. And I'm looking forward to what happens in 4 minutes, because again, 4 minutes from now, a Dragon, Soul Point set up for Turmeric. They have like the Lucian Nami, which is spiked really hard. They've got Kraken and Essence Reaper, so Deep Learn is going to be able to put out some really significant damage into a team like this. And I wonder if AOE is willing to take this super hyper late game, because again, Captain Shrimps actually isn't going for the pure poke. He's not going for the loons. Looks like he's going for more of the crit build coming out, which again, in terms of like damage accessibility, the Ludens build is easier because the rockets do a lot more damage. Oh, Lynx.
Not the only one that does a lot of damage.
Just spooked off a little bit, right? It was just the heal.
Come on, Lucian. That's your wife, dude. Oh my goodness. Captain Shrimps gets surprised by a Zamudo in the brush. Here comes the Call of the Forge God, but just a one-on-one. Meanwhile, got a bit of a skirmish going on here through the rest of it. Selena gonna get taken out by Lynx. Meanwhile, Zamudo should be able to open up, and this is actually an opportunity for AOE Esports to get a big edge just like that. 1, 2, 3 members of Ginger Turmeric have fallen, and the teleport coming through to cut them off. As long as they can get that shutdown onto Existence without paying for it, they've actually left Skytech be isolated and actually opting to go for Deep Learning instead as they just try to kite down the Mordekaiser. It's CC City, but they still may lose a member. No, shutdown gold for the Senna, and it's a clean wipe.
And it's really astonishing the way that, like, AoE, again, they have a little bit of a lack of damage. I talked about this. They've got damage in the right places, and they've, like, kind of generated that fight without even Zamudo being around, where they can pick off one member at a time right there. You could see that they had a little bit of stagger. It started off with Keel, really putting a bunch of focus into making sure the Wukong was shut out. They turned focus for Nami, of course, and then again, it's one person at a time. Here's the exhaust and the drop onto Keel, and then they'll turn into Existence, they'll turn into Lucian.
Whoa! Okay. There was some contesting happening right there. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. Keel wasn't there, so there was no smite fight available.
No.
And yeah, AOE Esports, I mean, they get out with a pretty early Baron as well. It's a big swing for them, and they do have a gold advantage. So this does alter the facts of the game just a little bit, Rebel.
Yeah, I wanted them to stay slow. I wanted them to play around this dragon stacking mechanic, Turmeric, but unfortunately they weren't able to do so. They got forced on in a couple of situations where AoE in the bottom lane and in that topside play simultaneously were able to generate these kind of single advantages. And now in a game like this, again, Existence has the gold to keep up with Young, but that's not really the person you want to have gold on your team. It's the same with Keel. Like, you really just don't want those members. You want, you know, a Captain Shrimps to have it, Deep Learn to have it. You want these primary damage dealers with like a little bit of protection to work with to kind of you know, carve through the members that are going to be diving in, like Skytech and like Winnie. And so when you don't have the gold in the right place, you do run the risk potentially of your damage dealers not being able to do enough to get through Ornn and such, especially because Zamudo just hit 15, starting to get the Ornn items to come in. The scaling is starting to get here for AoE Esports. That's going to be a help to Savage. In fact, actually, the first 2 upgrades go right to his damage dealers because he knows they're going to need it more than just about anybody else on this team.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's one of the things you can do with Ornn. Just get yourself a little bit more value out of those items. And now with the Baron-empowered push, they're able to start marching in on that bottom side. It was a really nice split of attention, like taking down Captain Shrimps on the sideline. Like, Zamudo has played a very, like, solo and skirmish-oriented Ornn. Like, I look at an Ornn and think, all right, well, this is going to be like a team fight, 5v5. But no, not at all. Zamudo has really kind of played off to his side and played much more bruisery. Is going to be trying to stiff-arm Keel for the time being as they just let the Baron-empowered minions do their thing.
Able to keep Winnie out is Deep Learn. So the bottom lane and the push, the range that they've got with Lynx and with Syndra do make it rather punishing to be here. And again, Captain Shrimps not going for the poke build with the Ludens and whatnot is one thing, because you know, you drop damage into Syndra, you drop it into Senna, and you're not really in a bad place. That right there was huge.
Oh, and they even managed to turn yet again. Piercing Darkness from the Senna has done so much work for the team as well here. Zamudo even walks away from this one, and we have an open inhibitor, but it's AOE Ginger Turmerics.
It is. Wouldn't have thought that to be the case only a couple of minutes ago. Maybe 10 minutes ago, we would have been talking about how close that this was, but I thought that Ginger Turmeric
saw that gold
were going to be
swing.
the ones to be able to make it happen. Yeah, as Dragon is live, and again, this was the point where I was like, Ginger Turmeric, if they had made it 4 minutes without having dropped the fight, without having dropped the kill, this probably would have been the moment where I would have been like, okay, they are in the driver's seat. They own this game now. It's got to be AOE making something happen. AOE made something happen around that Baron buff. They're able to force this fight. They're able to get themselves in the right position to take over this game. And now they hold themselves. They're tied in Dragons, but they've got the 6k gold advantage. They've got the Ornn. They've got the members. They've got the range to work with to really make it difficult for the side of Turmeric to come back in a game like this. They have the damage for it, but it's going to be a minute until they can really access the right kind of fight to be able to turn things around. So AOE, how much can you get done now that you are really the ones controlling things?
Oh my goodness. My, how the turntables, Rebel Fox. This is AOE really starting to flex as the Dragons have equalized. The game could get longer. You talked about the late game. We didn't want to see a 40-minute game, but we may just get one depending on how things go down. It's only 26.5 right now, but those masterwork items are definitely starting to pay some dividends for the team as well. One of those small advantages you do get, well, definitely compounding advantages you get from an Ornn. I got a fun little quiz for you. You know what? Do you know what those two particular ones are called? The Luden's Echo and the Eclipse upgrades.
The Luden's Echo, it is Luden's Echo, right? Because I think it's Luden's Tempest now normally, but now it's
sorry,
Luden's Echo
yeah,
okay.
I'm a TFT player. My bad.
Yeah,
No,
you're fine.
it is Luden's Tempest. We'll talk about it in a minute because there's another fight going on. As Zamudo does get caught and yoinked back in, that's something Ginger Turmeric did need, but look what they're losing in terms of pressure up towards the top side.
Ooh. Yeah, they're going to lose that top tower at least, which I think Baron buff being up earlier, they're able to snag that tower. It's not the biggest deal in the world. They're going to try to get up there, but they're too far out. So it is just the top tower in exchange for the 1 kill. Turmeric trying to turn things around again. Zamudo didn't have a bunch of gold on him. It was just the 1 for trade of topside pressure. It was where their play was going to be. Existence. It's the ult out, actually.
To get big there. They want to take this fight. They fancy the chances, but look at how low Existence is going. I don't think he's on the same page as the rest of the team, but he does have himself a stasis, and he will use it. The wave comes in. Bubble does manage to catch on to Lynx to buy a lot of time for AoE, but it does not net them a kill. You can see why Existence felt confident, but man, that was a close call.
See, I find it funny because I was like, okay, I feel like this is winning for AoE because they got the top tower, and then they commit to this fight where Existence gets to find Young in just an ultimate, where I'm like, okay, you trap him there, you bait them for a team fight, you have the numbers advantage, maybe this works out. But Turmeric, it felt like they weren't fully committed to that play, or they weren't really fully invested in making that 5-on-5 happen, and they kind of, lowballed their chances maybe in terms of what they were able to accomplish, and because of that they were slow to the play, weren't able to really capitalize on anything. So the one potential pick that they had to turn this game back or to find a big team fight on Existence really didn't end up paying dividends right there, although it does show you that they are willing to take those chances. Existence is such an important member in this team to pull out a very individual member, and I do wonder if Young Mid kind of catches on to that, or if somebody catches on to that, because I'm curious whether a QSS is actually in the future of both of these carries, because I think it's necessary to make sure they don't fall behind in damage in fights.
I agree with you, and again, they're already getting a little extra value from the Masterworks too, so maybe you think you can afford it, but that Death Scraps just yoinks you so far, so I feel like they may want to consider that as an opportunity. Corky package inbound here for Captain Shrimps, but there's a push on for AoE, and they're going to be moving up. Hidden in the Senna Shroud for a sec.
Keel's in a
I don't think
position.
either team wants to. Never mind. Oh, here comes Keel on that Cyclone into the full channel of the Culling. The wave comes through. Zamudo takes a while, but they do chew through the health bar. Meanwhile, here comes Existence into the back line. They should be able to pick off Lynx through the sustain, shut down gold into Keel's pocket, and that is what massive kills. But a huge scatter though. Weak. Do they have the follow-through damage? AoE just don't seem to.
Young's got damage. He can really pump it out in the midst of a fight. Had to TP in lane right there, as Turmeric had basically already set themselves up for massive success. The amount of engage that they've got, the amount of threat that some of their frontliners actually bring, Heal, Existence, both of them doing a great job in a game like this. They're trying to 50-50 the Baron. Winnie can jump in, doesn't have the ultimate. Yeah, doesn't have the ultimate.
Unleash power on Captain Shrimp, so this is going to come down to
everybody.
As here comes Winnie to steal the Baron away! He's gonna give his life for the cause, but what a play from the AoE jungler.
And now they're going to be able to push up in a number of circumstances. And I do wonder, because we have 30 seconds until that dragon is going to spawn, they're probably going to have to fight in a 4v5 situation. Young is going to stay on the map. I do worry about that at least a little bit. Just the prospects of what he's doing. He's going to push up mid, I think, as far as he can to make sure they have to respond to some of the waves that are going in other places. Bottom lane is pushed out far enough that they can work through there, but it's the dragon that they want to play. I think Ginger Turmeric is playing for the super late. They're like, okay, we get third dragon, we can go to Infernal Soul, we can match some of the itemization, we can match some of the flat stacks that you're getting from your Ornn if Keel doesn't get picked.
They've caught Keel! Wow, that was so much damage dished out just from a couple of abilities. Here comes Existence around the side, and AOE, I realize this one's getting a bit hot, but this Dragon Infernal, it's so valuable for both sides. Getting shredded. Can they do it again? No smite down, and the bounty gets claimed as Keel will be able to smite that one away. They didn't really have a chance to contest with Winnie still on cooldown. So Muto goes down in the ensuing fight. Oh, it's hard-earned, but what a back-and-forth brawl fest this has been.
And the pure 5-on-5s, Keel and Existence have been doing such a good job finding ways to pick members out, pick members away. There's so much range, effective range right now for the damage on the side of AOE that getting access and pushing them back far enough in fights to where like Deepler and Captain Shrimps can put damage into some of the frontliners has been huge. It's a one-on-one right now.
Yeah, I think Existence thought he had that one, but there's a lot of people helping out. It's not just Winnie, so that's going to be claiming another kill.
It didn't have the ultimate right there, but again, grand scheme of things, I don't think it matters that much. They have Baron buff to push with right here, and I do wonder if they're able to grab mid tower off of it, but 4 members here for the side of Turmeric should be able to quell that type of raid, or quell that type of advantage that they've grabbed. Because now Turmeric, they're the ones on Soul Point, they're the ones on Infernal Soul Point, which is important, or they bought themselves 10 minutes, they want even more time to be able to work with as Deepler gets jumped on by Skytech.
Oh yeah, deep dive from Skytech as they were able to heal up nice and safe. Off the back before that charge comes through. Inhibitor going to be cracked right now. They can rotate down to the bottom side since there isn't another tower left to defend it from the earlier push. 32.5 minutes. AOE, they're looking to bring this one all the way back. They're at a dragon deficit, but it's going to be a long time to Soul.
2 inhibitors. 2 ways to make sure that those waves on the opposite side of Baron as well is going to be set up very well for AOE. As Turmeric, again, not dead in the water in a game like this, despite losing those 2 inhibitors, still have plenty of options to be able to play in this game. They've showed that, I think, time and time again, being able to use some of their frontliners to push back a lot of the damage from AoE. This Infernal Soul feels like it's their lifeline, potentially, to get back into a game like this. And they have 2 opportunities still. They can give away the next one, make sure that their base is back up, that their inhibitors are back up, that they aren't giving up anything too important. The Baron is going to be far more important, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Both of the objectives come back at the same time as Keel.
Is caught. Exhaust is on there, and they just stick to him like glue. Not much the jungler can do there, and it's not going to be punished on the smite side of things because it is a while, but being a member down for 45 seconds does open floodgates here for AoE to push as a unit.
He's so far out. I'm not sure what he's doing that far out from his base. They know that their waves are not in a position right now in mid or in bot to really do that much. And with the pick, it opens up a topside push because they've got this wave and the one right behind it to work with, to push with into this one. And again, the range advantage. Captain Shrimps is going to have to be the one to try to clear this wave. He wasn't there immediately. When he finally arrives, might be able to thin it out a little bit to try to prevent this from going down, but it is still very hard.
That's going to be the wave onto the Ornn, and the stun bubble comes through, but swallowed up by Skytech, and they just absorb all of those ultimates. But critically, the tower does stand here for AoE GT. You have to think that's worth. However, super waves coming through bot side does mean they have to split focus to defend. AoE GT going to have to do this on multiple fronts. Meanwhile, Winnie still causing havoc inside of the base, and not an opening to really make the play. Here comes Captain Shrimps, though, and I think he's got a special delivery as they go down, and the power is unleashed, but he's going to give his life for the cause to take down Young Mid in the backline. It's an all-out brawl here as you see the call of the Forge God coming through to knock, bop, and lock up the rest of the team. Even Skytech's getting in on the kill, and I think this is going to be over one way or the other, but who's it going to be? Because it's AoE GT that are winning the fight at the end. Zamudo pulled in by Existence, and now as the dust settles, Ginger Turmeric are the ones that reign supreme. It's 3 kills to 4, and they have the favor in their balance.
And I love that we're forcing right here with Captain Trips. He has the package. He draws them away from the base so that they can't keep capitalizing these waves crashing in mid and in bot, and starts this fight off so well. But watch Existence, because he's the one I'm really looking at in this fight. He lives in the middle of everyone for so damn long. Look at him. He's on the approach. He's able to do quite a bit of work on the front line. Existence dragged also Winnie out of the back line to start with. So first off, they've split the lines really effectively because of his positioning, and then he pulls out the backline threat to allow his backliners to live just a little bit longer, put out a little bit more damage before really taking over himself. Still able to do all that damage from his very incredible laning phase and early game that Existence has built this entire kind of game upon. His play right there really astonishing. Again, pushing back the front line, making sure the threat to his backline was taken care of, and being able to be a carry and just have an absolute brick of an Existence to do as much damage as he can, ensuring that he was going to go crazy. Actually topped the damage chart right there as well. Really, really well played.
Yeah, that was incredible, and I think it's going to open up the opportunity here for AOE GT to take this.
Goodness,
this is going to be Soul. It's getting shredded down to Paranoia. It's not going to get smited away, so they do secure it. Now, Ginger Turmeric have the opportunity, but they've lost their top laner, and Existence was the hero of that last fight, the 5v4. Do they still have the ability to fight this one out? They're going to get zoned away from their own base. No, the double kill. Young Mid is going to be the one claiming that. Now, Captain Shrimps on the run. Heal, getting the knockup, but he's locked up as well. There's nothing he can do. Down goes Captain Shrimps, and Peel is trying to save the game, but look at Young Mid. He's running it down for the victory this time as the teleport comes through. AOE GT may have gotten the soul, but they're gonna lose their own base in exchange, and what a way to finish this one with the fight far away from home. Samudo will be the one to end it with Young Mid. That's gonna be GG at 37 minutes. What a heck of an opener for AOE.
It was so close from Turmeric, though. They came within inches of taking this game to a position where it felt like it was going to be so much more comfortable for them to take, right? The Infernal Dragon or the Infernal Soul might have been their saving grace to be able to actually start competing in the fights where they don't get a pick immediately onto Young Mid, but they gave up the fight afterwards. They played for the Dragon so heavily. They lose Existence, who was the one member who was trying to draw people out of fights, and it let all of this gold advantage that AoE had accrued really come to light. Young Mid had a hell of a game on the Syndra, being able to just dominate as many fights as he was available in, especially that last one being the final damage dealer that really put the nail in the coffin for Turmeric, despite all of their thrashing, all of their fighting from the beginning of the game.
Yeah, AOE GT just really put the screws in to make AoE have a hard time this game. And I think a lot of it, the pace was set from what was happening with the Mordekaiser. It was a big threat that they had to deal with. Even though the other lanes weren't necessarily hard crushing it, it didn't matter because Young Mid was stymied a little bit from the early. There was that one, misfire where he nearly got the kill. At the end of the day, this was just a game of so many twists and turns, so many back and forth. Anyone could have taken it. And it seems like in the clutch moment, AoE just read the objective better and said, that's okay. We don't need the dragon. We can win the fight. And that's how they took it. Game number 1 in the books. Let's see what the desk has to say about it.